Hi, welcome back to another episode of Analyzed Scripts. I'm Dr. Katrina Fieri, a psychiatrist, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Portia Pendleton, a licensed clinical social worker. And today we are going to be talking about the new Netflix series called Wellmania. Portia, you had really wanted to cover this, so I'm really eager to hear your thoughts.
So I really am a big fan of Celeste Barber, who plays Liv.
Oh, okay.
So she's a Australian comedian and really just like Instagram comedic human so now she's like kind of touring, and I think she's going to have a Netflix special come out, but she started making videos
on
years
Instagram?
ago on Instagram where she would show like some model doing some ridiculous pose or wearing some ridiculous outfit, and then she would like spoof it and be hilarious. She has millions of followers because of this. Like,
oh, that's so
prior
funny.
to her being an actress, like this all came from her Instagram page,
wow.
I believe.
Wow.
So I followed her for years. I stumbled across her. She has, people always like her stuff. Salma Hayek always is commenting on her. So, Karlie Kloss, like the Kardashians, she just spoofs everyone who like comes out with something that's like really kind of like absurd.
I can't wait to go look at it.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, it's years. Like she's been doing this forever. So I was really excited to see her in like a show.
Yeah.
Using her acting skills. And
she's
then
really
I
funny.
guess touring and stuff too, as well as doing like stand-up.
Oh, wow. Good for her. Good for her. She was really funny.
Yeah.
Like, I really loved it.
I was impressed with her acting.
Yeah. No, I thought she was really good. So I guess the premise of this show is Liv is, what do you say, late 30s, early 40s, something like that, probably. A single gal who goes home to Australia to surprise her best friend Amy for her 40th, 50th birthday, some big birthday.
Yeah.
And then gets stuck there because she thinks she loses her green card in like a mugging. And then in order to get out of the country and back to America, she has to pass some medical exam.
Because she faints from, I think it's like a panic attack.
I think so too. At the
consulate
or embassy or something to get like a temporary travel document. She faints. Again, I think you're right. She was probably like hungover and dehydrated and then stressed and fainted. But then turns out like her blood pressure is really high, her cholesterol is high, and they won't like clear her to return. Is that real?
I think there's like parts to that are real. Like, I don't think any of this is real, but I believe that like in some, you do have to have some kind of a medical clearance at times if they think that you are medically compromised, right? Like most of us, if you applied for a green card to go to the UK,
they wouldn't check like your cholesterol.
Right. But because you're not experiencing, right, like a medical episode right now. Like I think they don't want people going to another country just for medical care, to be quite honest. Like, and I think that's the angle. Like I think you can if you're rich and like, private jet stuff and like pay for it all. But like they don't want you to go get a green card just to go get medical care in another country.
Who would come to America for medical care, especially from Australia?
Well, from Australia, I don't think anyone.
Like, why? I kept wondering, like, why does she want to leave so bad? Like, when Amy's, like, jogging along the coast, I'm like, why
I think it's Bondi Beach. They kept showing the, like, stunning beach. They have that big pool there. I always see it online. I'm like,
oh, my God, it's so beautiful. I'm just like, why do you want to leave?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Yeah, so I think, like, there is probably some medical clearance, but I feel like she would have passed.
Yeah.
Like, they would have done, like, a workup for syncope, which is the medical term for passing out, and found that there was not a cardiac reason or whatever, and then it's probably
right. But then she like is like she has an issue first of all with the guy, like the customs guy. Like
she's a lot of issues a little interpersonally.
It's some interpersonal conflicts there, and then with the doctor.
Yes. Oh my God, I loved that relationship.
So she goes to the doctor to try to get medical clearance, and they kind of get into it. First of all, the doctor like immediately was a little, I was like, you can be
gruff.
Very direct, right? And have a very clear direction or boundary, or say like, I'm not comfortable doing this. But like, she was a little rude.
Right. I think we find out later when Liv comes in and the doctor says, oh, it's the first time you've made an appointment. I'm wondering if she just sort of bullied her way in, which I could see her doing.
Yep.
And we'll get into, I guess, our thoughts about any potential personality pathology a little later. But I wondered if that's why the doctor was so like short with her and kind of shaming and kind of condescending, I want to say.
Yeah.
Like really like put her down. Yeah, I thought the doctor was a really interesting character.
Yeah.
So then Liv, like, to get back to New York, because I guess she's about to be a judge on this like culinary competition show, maybe like Top Chef or something, goes on this quest of trying all these different like wellness hacks.
Yep. To try to get better, to get back to New York.
Oh my God. So I did actually think that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I was really interested to see how they depicted all the different wellness things. And I love that they started with the cleanse.
Yeah, she got an enema.
She got an enema, colonic.
Just loved watching that. Loved that her friend Amy
So
dropped her
gross.
phone near the, tube, watching all of the poo in the insides.
And Amy
out.
herself was like waiting for a really important call. Again, I thought like that speaks to, it seems like Liv has a lot of interpersonal conflict. Even like with her closest friend, that Liv is always like, I think kind of narcissistic, has to be like the center of attention, even if she's not, purposefully or consciously wanting to be, but the fact that she makes her friends like, and her friend sort of falls into playing this role of like being there at her beck and call to the, to the detriment of herself by like missing this important
and
work
Liv,
phone call.
like shows up and causes a scene at the birthday party, right? She does the speech because, she seems like not therapy wise, but just like she's full of herself, like she's just kind of self-absorbed. Everything's about her. So she goes to make the speech, right? Because everyone wants to hear from me. I'm this like famous
No, I think she's
blogger.
like a narcissist.
And then the table falls and it's just
of course it breaks.
Yeah.
And
So
and
it's
then
all
even
about her.
Right. Everywhere she goes, it's about her. And even her brother starts saying that near the end, like the wedding's all going to be about you. And then it kind of was because she passed out, right?
Yep.
So that was a theme that carried on. And it wasn't until the very end of the show where we got the backstory about her dad that I think really shed some light onto why she has trouble connecting to people.
Right.
Right.
So she also is like crash dieting, right? Having all these shakes, which then she's like, tired and feels like crap because that's what happens when you only have juice for,
weeks or even like 2 days.
Yeah, right.
So, it doesn't take long.
We just kind of see right away like this, in my opinion, like toxic wellness culture. Like do all these things, try all these things and you're going to feel better.
Right. So it's cleansing, colonics, these like shakes, no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, no caffeine, no anything probably. And then there were some things like the cupping that I thought was an interesting depiction because that is a technique used in other cultures pretty regularly. That's not why she's using it.
And she lied about taking the blood thinner.
Aspirin, I know. And then she's like bleeding all over her mother's walls and like all this stuff.
And this all seems to be taking place at this one specific like spa/wellness center, right? Like she signed up for the whole package. She's getting all the things. And, she keeps going there and doing what they're telling her. And like, so all of these practices...
What are you going to say?
Well, I won't say all, but like many of these practices solely can be maybe helpful for someone, like in a very specific way, which I would say not necessarily mental health wise, like, right? So if you're getting cupping done, that many athletes I see, everyone have the circles on their back, it's cupping.
Right,
I'm sure there's more
in other cultures
speaking to that specific,
that is a very
helpful,
common, right? That is a very common medical practice, like in more Eastern countries where it's thought to sort of like suck out, I believe, again, I'm not an expert on this, but, toxins or, things like that. So it's sort of like a normal thing in some cultures. That's not why she's of doing it, right? I think she's, like you said, like looking for a quick fix to get back. And even the doctor was like, that's not how it works. Like it takes a long time to like lower your blood pressure, lower your cholesterol. It's really like a lifestyle overhaul.
Right.
And she's like, nope. I know better than you. I'm going to figure this out. You know?
So like there's nothing wrong with having like juice, right? Like, big bang for your buck with nutrients and stuff like that. But like, that
like a post-workout protein shake,
exactly. Or trying to be more aware of your diet and getting more fruits and veggies in, or I'm tired more, maybe I need some more protein, just like increasing this awareness again for long-term change. I don't really know because I only kind of think of them through the eating disorder lens, which typically is like a behavior and we try to arrest. But can you speak to if enemas, their are they
You just saw me roll my eyes.
helpful in medical?
No.
Okay. I mean, I don't think so, but
no, I mean,
okay.
unless you're getting cleaned out for a colonoscopy,
Okay.
that's
Yep.
not something people recommend. Like, hey, suck out all your poop to like do what? No,
Yeah.
I think it actually can be really harmful to the lining of your colon, is what I remember learning about it in medical school. So no, that's not something the medical field routinely recommends. Yeah, no.
And they're interestingly enough can become like addictive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like on the Real Housewives franchise, I feel like at least once every other season, someone's getting an enema somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
I think it is definitely to try to like lose weight or lose water weight or
and then you have a hard time tolerating a really normal feeling of having like waste
like,
in your body, right?
right?
So it's like if you become used to that kind of feeling of it all coming out, many people can have like or do on themselves like enemas multiple times a day. I mean, it's really not good for you.
I bet you. I mean, I don't know, but I wonder if you've seen that. Like, and you're like, of course. Yep, of course.
Yeah. Or people doing it with coffee, which I think is an
coffee
interesting
enemas.
one.
Yeah.
So again, like I think
I mean, if you're constipated, that's when you do an enema. If you have a child who's really constipated, if you're really constipated, that's when you do it. So I will adjust my answer to that's it.
Yeah.
And maybe not like that, where you like put a hose up. Those are usually more like, suppositories and things like that.
Yeah. So we just see, I think, toxic wellness culture in some ways really, really aggressively. And then we see also like, okay, like maybe you should be moving your body more, Liv.
Right.
Maybe you should be, it sounds like you're not taking care of it well. You're not sleeping well. You're abusing drugs and alcohol.
All these drugs.
You're not
sleeping.
All
the time.
Your diet is probably off.
Right.
So I think like that's the stuff long-term that she should be changing. But again, she has like 30 days before her next check-in with this doctor. It seems like that she has to make all these changes. And she's like, Mom, my blood pressure hasn't come down yet. Why not? She's like, it's been 2 days.
Yeah, right. Yeah, these things take time. And it's interesting that her brother Gaz like is such a health aficionado, and like it seems like a personal trainer, and she, enlists him to help her and things like that. And then somehow we got to like the sex lady, Camille. I was a little confused about like, where did that come from? Was that mostly to help Amy because her friend Amy was feeling like the spark with her husband was kind of dwindling?
And I think it was 2 parts. So Amy ended up kind of fangirling her because of her reported like sex issues in her marriage. And Liv wanted the interview.
That's right. She needed like a good story to sort of keep selling herself to the producers or someone of that show she wants to be on. That's right. What did you think of Camille, that lady?
I thought she was such a typical wellness guru. Yeah, who I just think you have to be very, very, very careful of people you are listening to. And
if anyone calls themselves a guru, just think twice.
Yeah.
Maybe we could put that on merch.
I think there's a ton of frauds out there. I think there's a ton of people who do a lot of damage. I think anyone can really
call themselves a guru.
Right, and say a helpful thing. Like, many people have good advice.
Right, yeah.
and that's not something that, you should be paying hundreds and thousands of dollars to listen to.
Right.
So, be careful out there. But yeah, I thought it was just like, again, like I don't know, like an elevated look, but it's really not, at some of these people in the industry, I'm not going to name names.
Going to like a conference, you pay and you got your lanyard.
The self-help.
Yep. Yeah. The self-help industry can be very, very toxic, which is such cruel irony, right? And I feel like it's just like bathed in misogyny because it's oftentimes targeted at women, right? Like how often do you see men in the self-help section or things like that? And
it also just gives the message too, I think in general, that like we could be better constantly.
Right.
And like that promotes this rat race, the mouse on the wheel, never going to be
that you're not good enough just as you are right now, in your body, in your space, in your life, just as you are. Just enjoy it. You're so right. And that's what's so annoying. Even like when you're feeling burnt out because the system you work in is so oppressive and unsupportive, still the problem is you. Like you need to meditate more, take a bubble bath, or get up at 4:30 and exercise, like it's always you're the problem. It's like systemic gaslighting is really what it feels like.
It is. And I think even just thinking about recommending things for patients,
Mm-hmm.
I really liked, I think it was a past colleague who said, like, you never want to add, or an old mentor, you never want to add something else in. So it's like, okay, maybe, yeah, like there's a podcast that you could listen to or something, but like on your way to work, right? You're already doing this drive. I don't need to say, well, now, you need to take another hour out of your time when you have 3 kids and you have a full-time job and you do this to go get a massage. It's like, yes, that would be nice, for relaxation, but like giving more and more and more things for us to do to feel better is ultimately like the problem.
Right. And especially when these things are expensive and unattainable. And again, just emphasizes that you are not doing enough. The problem lies with you rather than like the system at large that wants to keep you feeling that way to sell you all this guru junk,
So a person I saw on Instagram
who actually is not.
No. So she's a
legit.
psychiatrist.
She's legit. I'm pretty sure
she's on her
does,
book tour right now.
Right. She does not call herself a guru.
And she actually talks about kind of getting involved in her book with like basically a cult and like who was selling themselves as like a wellness program. So it's Dr. Pooja Lakshmin. She's an MD, and her book title is Real Self-Care. Crystals, cleanses, and bubble baths not included.
I love that.
I'm like currently reading it, and this show, I was like, I wonder if she's like doing any press or going to talk about it at all, because it's so
spot on.
She talks so much about systems, but she says like some of the things that we try to get while we engage with the wellness industry are escape, right? So going on a retreat.
Yes, a break.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not going to do anything for you long term.
And you don't need to spend $10,000 to go,
right? So it seems like Celeste is like a little bit of escape on not that she wanted, but like by
Celeste?
being in
Did I get her name wrong?
Oh, Liv. Sorry, that's her, the actress.
Okay.
So Liv is on an escape unintentionally in Australia, and then the other one is achievement. So it's like we have to then be good at it. So like
people on Instagram, like showing the like before and after photos,
right? So I'm going to do yoga, and I'm going to be the best at yoga. I'm going to do a headstand right away. And then it's about being the best now. It's not just like, I'm doing yoga for an hour, but it feels really good
in my body. Right.
The other one is just optimization. So it's like, how can I, within the wellness industry and faux self-care, get better at all of these expectations?
Yes.
Right. And it's like none of these are
efficient.
the real way that we should be resting.
Nourishing your soul. Right. Oh, I love that. I can't wait to read that book.
So check it out. I'm like a quarter of it through, and it's really good because I think it really draws specifically for women, just like the systems that make it really hard to take care of yourself in.
100%. Right. Yeah.
So Liv is on that journey here and engages with all these wellness practices. So it seems like she so talk about like her interpersonal stuff. What do you think? I mean,
I just think she has some narcissistic traits, if not like a narcissistic personality type. I think she has interpersonal conflict with a lot of people very quickly when they're not giving her exactly what she wants, exactly when she wants it. She is very self-centered, often at the detriment to the people around her. Like everyone who knows her really well points that out to her, like her best friend, who again, it's her best friend, but they live in different continents. So again, it's like a friend, but they're not super close in terms of like seeing each other a lot, or, unclear like how it seems like this is the deepest their relationship has been in a really long time. Her brother points it out. Her mom points it out. Like everyone points it out. And you just see her really like moving and shaking to get her needs met.
Yeah.
Her sole focus is to get back and get to that, that show. And she lies to everyone to get there. Like she's lying to her boss. She's, withholding information from her brother about having to leave the wedding early. I thought it was really interesting how the show ended, and it makes me wonder if there's going to be a season 2.
There is. Yeah.
Where, she's like walking out to do the first show or something, and she's getting all these calls from her brother and other people and Amy. And again, she doesn't answer them. Like she sees there's like 40 calls, doesn't answer.
And she gets lavender cream from one of her assistants, which I just thought was so funny to help her, right? Like, oh, just put on this cream.
Yes, lavender cream.
I love the smell of lavender.
It
is helpful.
Calming.
It's very soothing, but that's not going to help your deep-rooted issues.
Right. And then it turns out like her mom's been in an accident. And I think it's going to be like, does she go back or does she not? And I don't know. Did you catch those narcissistic vibes too or not really? I think in like a funny, playful, charming way, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
like
I definitely did. I think too, it's kind of funny. Again, we have an episode where we talk about, or a couple episodes where we talk about Succession. It's like in her industry, it's almost like what it takes, right? It becomes so normal. Everyone is so self-absorbed. Yes. Everyone is kind of out for themselves. Everyone's trying to get a leg up. Everyone's trying to get this one job or this one role
to be on TV.
So it's like this again becomes like normal in that culture. And then she like goes back to Australia. And she's out of it, right? And it's like her behavior is so clearly inappropriate, so much more like
that's
shocking.
True. Right.
So I think that's also just interesting, like context, like who you're with.
And like so American, right? Like I thought it was also a funny commentary on America.
I agree.
Because I think a lot of people view Americans in that way.
And it is an Australian show, you know, so it's like produced by, Netflix, but like Netflix Australia, the whole cast is. So I thought that was kind of like a little... jab.
Yeah, pretty stereotypical.
I really liked Isaac. So I thought that he kind of not necessarily opened her eyes where it made her change, but she was shocked that he like was celibate. Right.
And in recovery and like could stick with it.
And she
kept trying to tempt him for a while.
Yeah. Because I think she's just not used to someone saying no,
right, and like sticking with the boundary.
Like what guy wouldn't want to have sex,
right.
So he says something like you can't have it all, and this is like how it teaches me, or this is how I stay sober. Or it reminds me that because I think on drugs you often do feel like you have it all, or that level of pleasure is so high. It's like dopamine. We shouldn't be feeling that. Falsely.
Right.
So I liked him. I thought he was like a good, I hoped that they got together. If this was only one season, I wanted them to like end up together.
I didn't want them to because I feel like he deserves better.
Well, if she changed and like really changed.
I don't know if she can. Here we are again, me the pessimist, you the optimist when it comes to these characters.
Did you know, this is such a sidebar, but like I was looking at the cast because I don't know who she was in this show, but her cast name is Helen King, and she's Lottie in Yellow Jackets.
What?
So she's in Wellmania.
Like the child or the adult?
The adult.
One? The adult one?
Yeah. Simone Cassell.
What? Who was that?
Helen King. I don't know if she was in New York, maybe, part of that.
Yeah.
But she wasn't in it a lot. She's a New Zealand actress.
Wow. How about that?
Because I was like, she looks really familiar, but I don't remember her being in the show. So I don't think she had like a huge role.
That's interesting. But,
so then we see Liv also with her friend Amy. We talked a little bit about it already. It just seems like, again, like Liv, it's not like someone who I want to be friends with.
Right. And that even kind of comes up.
Bad.
Yeah. And she just kind of like ruins things. Like she shows up to the birthday party and then wants to make a speech and the table breaks. Yeah. And then she like shows up to her kid's birthday party and like gives a child with an allergy something they shouldn't eat or something. You know, like there's always like something.
And then she writes that expose about them and everyone puts it together, and that's like embarrassing and information.
Such betrayal.
That you don't want out, It's not embarrassing to have a marital issue, but it's private and you can feel embarrassed when everybody knows it.
Right. And those are the things where I'm like, she's got something going on because...
No, very impulsive.
Yeah, very impulsive, but also like that lack of awareness of how your actions make other people feel screams narcissism to me. Like to just be like, but I needed a good story. Like no one will know it's you. And it's like, A, they do, but B, even if they didn't, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Like you betrayed me.
So then we see like a little bit of her childhood.
Yeah.
Which is sad. It seems like so we really don't get this until the last episode, but we start to see some flashbacks of her with her dad who looks like he's dying or dead at the beach. And she's like kind of trying to give him life, CPR.
Right. And before that, we'd seen these like cuts to this beach.
When she starts to get activated.
Panicked. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, what happened at the beach? Like, what's going on at the beach? So yeah, it sounds like, and we don't find out till the end that her dad had a heart attack and died, and she had like wanted him to come swimming with her. He had said no, so she went further to get her way, and then he like had to come in after her. I also thought it was really sad when they showed like how her mom reacted.
Yeah.
So she like goes to a high school party that night and brings a lasagna, which I just thought was
that
like
someone had brought because of the
God.
death.
Oh, I didn't put that together.
She like grabbed one of the casseroles.
Oh, I forgot that part. Oh, that's so sad.
I know.
And it's like she doesn't know what to do.
Right.
She's probably never been to a party.
No one's talking about it, it seems like, at home.
And also like I got the sense like she'd never really been to a party before.
Yep.
So she's like, I'll bring this.
Yeah.
Nice to bring something, I guess.
I think now I'm like, why did no one bring lasagnas to teen parties?
Right?
That sounds like a great idea.
That sounds delicious.
Or get some food in you.
Yeah, that sounds delicious, right? Future note to tell our future children. And then like she gets home and the mom's like, do you have the lasagna tray? That's like all she had to say.
And then she cries alone on the stairs.
Yeah, that made me really sad. There's definitely like that emotional distance, which is sad.
Yeah. I mean, she has so much work to do. And I'm wondering again, so that the show ended where it seems like mom has been in a pretty severe accident, maybe has died.
And
like
she was going to like throw away all of Liv's stuff, remember?
Yes.
So I think she was still mad at Liv for leaving.
Yeah. Like they didn't leave on good terms.
No.
So they're not, it seems like they're not probably still speaking. And then, again, I would imagine that Liv does blame herself internally. And even if she acts like she doesn't.
Right.
And
I
then
think so.
this is just more and more like
adding
stuff
to
that
that
she needs to go to therapy for.
Yeah. I mean, so what would you diagnose her with if she was your patient?
I'd want to do a little bit more of an evaluation on like impulsivity. Well, just like to see if she has any ADHD.
For sure, yeah.
Because I think if something like that could be medicated, and then she could like not necessarily like easily, but I think something if it was that significant and you could kind of bring her down a level or two, she could then slowly think through things more,
right,
and be able to process things like in an easier way for her. So that would be like that's my first curiosity. Like, do you have ADHD? And if so, like we should help you with that. And then
it's hard to discern when you're actively abusing drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
So that's something important to know that she'd really have to cut that out to really get an accurate diagnosis.
And then just what she is presenting primarily for. So, like, are you here because you keep having panic attacks? Or are you here because your mom died, or because, your brother won't talk to you? And then trying to come in through that door that she is opening and point out all the other stuff
that might be going on.
Yeah.
And then she did end up seeing a psychiatrist. I was like bummed we didn't get to really see that evaluation. Remember that like she went through all that effort to get there, and then she's like, oh, you could have done it on Zoom.
With the death doula.
Oh my God, the death doula. How did we forget that?
I know.
But in some ways that was like so healing for her to see.
She cried. I feel like she's not a crier. She doesn't cry.
No, and that's not how it was managed like for her growing up, and to just see something totally different. It's super bizarre to have this stranger there, right?
Yeah.
And even like sometimes they'd be like, who is that random girl who's here? I think death doulas are a real thing.
So I think they are as well. But what's so strange is that before I watched this show, I was in the depths of TikTok one night, and I saw a couple videos on my personal account because I see some stuff with like psych stuff that I'm always like, and it was people who are kind of talking about being death doulas though who assist in the death.
Oh, like a assisted
suicide. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and all these people
different.
kind of talk. Oh, yeah. So I initially thought then watching the show, like, oh, it's a death doula. Like they're going to help you die. No.
It sounded more like hospice was the vibe I got from
and I was like,
show.
oh, I like this.
Yeah.
We should have death doulas regularly, just like we should, everyone should have access to a birthing doula.
Right.
So I was like, wow, this is such a unique thing. Not what, a person on TikTok who are they?
Right. But
some random person kind of talking about
that. Do that,
Right. So I really, and I was like, because, but I thought this was so healing for Liv.
Right. Really connected her to a part of herself she'd locked away, but in a way that felt safe.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't her, Yeah. So I think Liv has a lot to work through and work on. I don't know if she'd go to therapy unless
I don't think she would.
I don't think so either.
Mandated.
I could see her coming in for a psych evaluation for ADHD. Like being curious about a stimulant trial. I could definitely see that as like a way in.
She has a Xanax prescription, which she gave that guy on the plane. I was dying when she checked when they landed that he was breathing. So she put her finger under his nose and she was like, oh, thank God.
That's what I mean. She just really gets in her own way and in everyone else's way too.
So she gives him this crystal, right? That's grounding. And at first he's like, oh, okay, thank you so much. That's so nice. And then he freaks out, right? Because he's like, well, the plane cannot be grounded. I can't be grounded right now. And she's like, okay, just
fine,
take this.
Here, take this.
And he's like, and then it works, because Xanax is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
And I was laughing at that scene. She's like, take a Xanax, honey.
I love, the juxtaposition. Oh, here's a healing crystal. I learned so much in my month-long journey to wellness.
Yes. And it's not working immediately?
Okay. Yeah. Right. Because real self-care isn't immediate.
Right.
It's
it's slow and it's changing pretty deep things in your life.
And I also think it changes with time, over the course of your life and different phases of your life. I really think of it as how can you really connect with your inner authenticity and accept yourself for who you are, where you're at this point in time, and be grateful and make time and space in your life for those things that cultivate that joy and gratitude. Because life is so hard as it is at baseline. And our culture and society doesn't really encourage us to do that. We focus on productivity and optimization, and no wonder wellness has become a whole business stream.
I know,
right?
It's a $1 billion industry.
Right, exactly. And it's all a farce for the most part,
I know. I mean, I like what you said about self-care changing and at different stages of your life, because I feel like that's so true. Even just thinking about what kind of things you need, what's important at different times, what, and that's connections, that's physical care, that's mental care, that's joy. It's in so many areas. It's
nourishment in all different forms.
It's not just taking a yoga class, which a yoga class is good.
Right.
And it's, you're moving your body. Maybe it's time for you where you're kind of decompressing, but that's not going to help fix your problems.
Right. Unless it's become sort of a regular practice. And what yoga is for some people could be something else for someone else. Could be tap dancing for someone else.
Yep.
And accepting that in certain stages of your life, when you're in residency or when you just had your first kid or when you have an ill parent or whatever the challenge is, you have to find smaller ways to cultivate joy and nourishment in all different forms, because life that's just not possible at that moment.
Right.
But to remember that you will get back to a place where it is. And so don't lose, that thread of connection to what it is that makes you feel like yourself and who you are. Yeah. And that's so different for everyone.
Yeah, I think self-care and, as maybe a new mom is taking a shower,
alone.
Right. Self-care is closing your eyes for a couple minutes while your baby's sleeping. That's
asking
self-care.
for help.
Yeah, self-care,
accepting
getting a meal
help
from someone.
Right.
It's not. It doesn't mean you have to get a mani and pedi. Mani and pedi are wonderful, but it's these.
It might even be having a cathartic cry.
Yeah,
and it might be just owning and connecting to and speaking to and validating all the feelings that come with new parenthood, not just the happiness, the frustration, the anger, the regret, all the stuff, wanting to run away maybe because it's really hard and you're really tired, and just allowing yourself to feel it, I think, is a really good form of self-care.
I really liked the title, right? Wellmania.
Yes.
I was That's what we're all. It's like mania.
A manic run to wellness. And I thought it was a funny play on Wellbutrin, which is a antidepressant that can sometimes be used. And I like the little song, "Oh, the good time girl,"
Ding, ding.
No, I thought it was like a really cute show overall. I didn't love it as much as like you in Succession. I think I love those like dark things more.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a fun, light show. It's short. They're 30-minute episodes. I think there's 8 of them. It's a quick thing to watch. I thought it was cute.
And the way they touched on it was like smart and funny. Yep. I thought they did a good job. Like the stuff they picked, I was like, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. I was waiting for her to get into network marketing of some like Isogenics or some like, shake company and like or doing those like rap parties or like, something like that.
But it's also funny because Celeste Barber is very seemingly like anti-diet,
like on her Instagram.
We have to be perfect. It's like hilarious. I mean, she has kids and I believe a husband or a partner, and like she just is like, this is a normal body. Like this is me in this weird outfit that's like only couture, and again, like it's her whole brand, and that's why I thought she was just like an excellent cast. I'm excited for her Netflix document or stand-up thing. But
I think too, there were times where I felt annoyed, but now I think I'm getting it a little more that like she is in a normal body. I think she has a beautiful body. She's not like obese or, and even if you were obese, you have a beautiful body, But it was interesting how like her culture around her kept like sending signals directly and indirectly that she wasn't good enough. Like her body isn't good enough and things like that. One last thing I wanted to say was I really loved her sneakers that she kept wearing toward the end. Like I really liked them. I just liked them.
Yeah, I thought it was like interesting that she is this, like writer in New York City because her style is so not New York City. It's like, and like, maybe she's a food blogger, like, working for food. So maybe there's more creative people in that brand. But again, like we did recently watch Succession in New York, and there, there's a lot of the pantsuits, a lot of beige, navy.
Yeah.
But
well, so this was a fun watch. It seems like there will be a season 2. So when it comes, you can be sure we're going to cover it because we are committed podcasting gurus.
Sign up for our book on how to better your life.
Yeah.
3 simple ways to better your life and be your optimistic or optimal self.
Yeah. They include boundaries, perseverance, and a little bit of grandiosity.
Yep. $29.99.
There you go. And that's all. Yep. There you go.
Free advice. Well, thank you for listening. Make sure you're following us on TikTok at Analyzed Scripts Podcast, on Instagram at Analyzed Scripts, and feel free to email us at analyzedscriptspodcast@gmail.com. We are excited to be having some guest hosts sprinkled in, so make sure you are catching our episodes. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you find one.
Everywhere else. And we'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. This podcast and its contents are a copyright of Analyzed Scripts, all rights reserved. Any redistribution or reproduction of part or all of the contents in any form is prohibited. Unless you want to share it with your friends and rate, review, and subscribe. That's fine. All stories and characters discussed are fictional in nature. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased, places, buildings, or products is intended or should be inferred. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The podcast and its contents do not constitute professional, mental health, or medical advice. Listeners might consider consulting a mental health provider if they need assistance with any mental health problems or concerns. As always, please call 911 or go directly to your nearest emergency room for any psychiatric emergencies. Thanks for listening and see you next time.